you for tuning in. My name is Leah Daly. I am the Senior Director of Education at Travel Leaders Network, an Internova travel group company. Today, we have some great insights to share on this second part of this series in the economics of owning a travel business. Each month, we will release a new segment on economics of owning a travel business, as you see here. Today's segment, we are speaking about master of your own destiny, moving from a consumer of travel to a business of travel. Okay, good. We've got everybody up on screen. Thank you everyone for joining us here today. I just want to introduce everyone. We've got Lee Thomas. He's the president of Business Travel. Jason Oshipikai, Managing Director of the Global Travel Collection in the UK, and Martin Mussey, who is the Business Development and Education Manager at Nexion US and Canada. And we have a special guest today, Heather Houtman with Winsome Travel. She's an independent business owner who will speak at the end of this segment on her strategy when it comes to being in this travel business. So let's talk about moving from that consumer of travel to business of travel. Jason, being a consumer of travel is quite different than owning a travel business. Can you talk about the difference there between those? And so our audience understands that transition and the dynamics of consumer versus business.
Sure, and thanks, Leah, and it's great to be participating in the Internova speaker series with you, as well as Lee, Martin, and Heather as well. I think it's safe to say that most of anybody that is actually watching this speaker series has purchased travel in some way, shape, or form in the last 2 years. And I say 2 years because really in the last 17 months since the pandemic hit the US back in 2020, obviously travel has looked and felt very different. But in that difference of travel, we've uncovered a lot of different challenges as related to travel. But it's safe to say that travel is bouncing back, and a new reality of what it means to travel is really still being defined. But having said that, being a consumer of travel actually provides some pretty good perspective of what it takes to be, what I would say, in the business. Think of the complexity and the components into travel. Just the research, the ideation, anything that, just the beginning part of that process. There's a lot of excitement. There's so many different options. And as a consumer, you can realize there is a lot of complexity. And yes, there's different websites and there's different resources online, but I don't think anything ever replaces an individual conversation with somebody that you know and trust. So for me, I firmly believe that the mindset of a consumer can actually inform a person that is willing and potentially ready to make that leap of faith into what I would call ownership into travel. When you talk about what's the mindset of business ownership in general, I think it's all about what you want it to be and what you want to create. That's kind of the beautiful thing. You have a blank canvas and you get to draw the picture to the best of your ability and to your own desire. I would say that owning a business or being a partner in a business versus being an employee, there is a very, very different mindset. Ownership means that really all of the upside, the reward, as well as all of the downside really falls on you. But that also means that you have the complete flexibility to focus your effort and serve the clients the way you want. When you talked about how would I define now that how would you define for now in the travel industry and owning a business? Despite what you read in the media, there has never been a better time to own a travel business, period. Whether you're providing specific concierge-like services to a targeted clientele or offering expertise across a broad range of travel destinations and activity. Really, the single most important thing to determine is, where does your passion lie? And really build from there. I would also argue, and then take the slant on, the accessibility of talent and expertise to support the execution of your vision is abundant, particularly now that our society has really embraced this whole notion of the kind of that virtual working. For instance, finding the right talent doesn't mean that you have to stay local to your area. You can arguably find people in different areas in your state, in your country, and in different parts of the world. And I think that's sometimes, Aaliyah, a point that's oftentimes missed. I wanted to share with you, a few examples of people that were in different industries who then pivoted into the travel business. And what you'll notice is that each of them has a high correlation between customer service and trust. So the first one I'd like to share with you is from a legal services, and specifically there was a lawyer, had a fantastic career in his law firm, and just got to the point of wanting something more, wanted something more fulfilling in life, but had a great business, had wonderful clients that had trusted him for years in his firm. And he decided to kind of pivot into travel. And I would say the first 9 months was rough in terms of the transition, having to relearn, right? His whole mindset was studying legal, reading legal contracts. Now he was reading commercial contracts, which was very different. But after that 9 months, he's never looked back. And when I talk to him, he always says to me, he's like, Jason, I don't know what I waited for. I should have done 5 years before. And when you hear that, kind of warms your heart. But for folks listening, sometimes you're sitting there and you're wherever you are in your life and what you're doing, ask yourself, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? And does it personally fulfill you? Because once you find personal fulfillment, life becomes just so much more sweeter. The second example I can share with you is wealth management. And specifically, I'm talking about private wealth. So here is an individual where she was trusted to handle the financial affairs of some well-to-do private individuals. Again, similar story, wanting to do something more, had an itch to travel, but didn't know if she can reconcile, still doing financial services and travel. She hooked up with one of the departments within the Internova brand of families. And over the next 2 years was really coached and guided to, how do you start a business? What do you want to focus on? How do you develop your business plan? All of the things that I would say our departments do a fairly good job of educating and kind of mapping things out. And if you think about it, she had a ready to go platform of clients. Because if you got to think about it, if you're trusting somebody with your money, chances are they're going to trust you with your travel. Once she felt comfortable that she could deliver at a very, very high level, the same level of service and support as she had done on the financial services side. Another interesting one is, I call it talent and artist management. Again, a little bit more specific of a field, but same rule applies. Here you have an individual that is responsible for everything that goes into that specific band or A-list celebrity, handling everything from their needs while they're on the road, etc. Well, all of a sudden now they had all of these artists that were relying on them for effectively concierge services, but wasn't involved in anything on the travel side. And then when they made the pivot into travel, they realized how lucrative it could be for them personally, but then also delivering outstanding value for their artists. So again, that's a way where we talk about kind of pivoting and leaning into something that ties to your passion, but at the same time still allows you to kind of utilize the same relationships that you have with your ongoing roster. And listen, I would say it more broadly. I think when I think about the customer services or consumer services, really any sector that you may be in that's providing reoccurring service or after sales support to clients, I think that's another great way to create a base of potential clients as you now move into ownership of a travel business. I think, Leah, the one thing that we need the key thing to remember, owning a travel business doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in travel. Now, I know many colleagues would say that that's not true, but I'm going to stay true to my thought on it. However, you must have a deep passion to learn and identify the talent needed to provide the expertise for travel. And let me say that one more time. Some people may not be experts in travel, but as the owner of the business, whether it's one person, two person, five people, your role is to make sure that your passion transcends to you and your teams, and that you get your teams to possess that expertise, whatever that discipline of travel or that area of focus of travel, whether it's focusing on just selling cruises, once in a lifetime experiences, African safaris, deep Latin America tours in the Patagonia, whatever that might be, your team needs to be able to possess the expertise to do two things. Service delivery, that means somebody calls you or reaches out to you and says, I have 2,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, 100,000 pounds, and I want a once in a lifetime experience. And your team having the expertise to at least know where to go to start curating that once in a lifetime experience, or finding the resources throughout the Internova brand of families to make that happen. So service delivery and then service recovery, which I think is kind of the underbelly of what we do in the travel business. We want, when travel happens, for everything to go seamlessly. But I think everyone on this call would agree that doesn't always happen. But to be able to pick up the phone to your trusted travel professional and say, I need help, something's happened, I need something changed. And that service professional, the travel professional, being able to, on a dime, pivot and make sure that rectifying, calling the GM at the hotel, getting you out of certain situations, booking earlier flights, but to take that pain point away. Service delivery and service recovery are core to what we do. And as you think about ownership of a business travel or moving into the travel business with ownership, those are some of the key tenets of things that should definitely be top of mind.
Thank you, Jason. And you bring such a great perspective. I failed to mention Jason is actually the managing director of Global Travel Collection in the UK. So definitely gives us that international perspective. Also was just on an international flight from New York to the UK. So thank you for all the great expertise, even coming off of jet lag. And before we started our call today, everybody was talking about their travel. And Heather's been in Costa Rica most recently, and Lee's been in Croatia and Nairobi. And travel is continuing, even though we are still sitting in somewhat of a different time in this industry. So, Jason, thank you so much for that perspective.